So being that Pesach preparations, in particular Pesach cleaning, are quite arduous and a lot of work. So I think it's important to be a little bit inspired to do that, to clean out the house of chametz and to prepare for Pesach. And there are many stringencies, chumras, that we take upon ourselves when we clean for Pesach. To the extreme, more than any other. In fact, I think it was the Yisrach Moshe said that there's no such thing as a chumrah on Pesach. Meaning, no matter how strict you are, that's good, because even a masha, even a speck of chametz is forbidden on Pesach. So whatever extent we go to is not too much. They say the Rav of Shpetivka, I think was one of the Talmidim of the Magid, used to kasher the door handles in his house. Kasher them. That was how far he went. And everyone has their stringency in how far they go. Where is this all from, or why do we go to such extremes on Pesach? So I think a lot of it is from a quote from the Arizal that says that somebody who is careful of any smidgen of chametz on Pesach will be guaranteed not to sin for the entire year. That is brought by the Ber Heitev, one of the commentaries on Shulchan Aruch, in the name of the Arizal, which is quite a promise. If you're careful of even a speck of chametz on Pesach, then you will be guaranteed not to sin for the year. But there's a few problems with that statement. One is, how does it work? Two is, does it work? Is it true? I mean, if the Arizal said it, must be true, but in our experience, is it true? Is it possible? And another interesting question is did the Arizal actually say it?
Also, is it dependent on the effort or the result?
Right, is it this if you tried your best?
It said, it's just if you are careful.
Right, so what does it actually mean? So we're going to look at a few sources on this. First of all, a bunch of sources gathered by Reb Pinchas Friedman, and then we're going to look at the Rebbe's angle on it. So first, let's look at the text here. So it's very known and famous what it's brought in the Sfarim in the name of the Arizal. And the source of it, the direct source that we get it from, is from the Be'er Heitev, Bishmai, in the name of the Arizal. This is in Shulchan Aruch Arachaim Siman Tov Mem Zayin Ois Aleph. Ha'arizal Kasav. The Arizal writes, Hanizar mimashu chametz b'Pesach. Somebody who's careful of even a speck of chametz on Pesach, muftach lo shelo yechta kol hashana. He's guaranteed to not sin for the entire year. So that's the primary source that is quoted most often. So let's look at the words carefully. Hanizar mimashu chametz b'Pesach. Someone who is careful of a speck of chametz on Pesach is guaranteed not to sin for the entire year. So, v'hinei, divrei Arizal halalu einam nimtzoim b'shar kavanas u'priyetz chayim. These words of the Arizal, that Ber Heitev quotes in the name of the Arizal, are not found in Shara Kavanas, Eitz Chaim, Priyetz Chaim, the Sfarim where we would expect such a thing, that go through the Minhagim of the year. It doesn't say such a thing. However, it is found in a sefer called Machberes HaKodesh, Shagam Hum Nimna Al Echad Mesidur Kisvei Arizal, which is one of what's known as the Siddur of the Arizal. Often you hear quoted that it's something from the Siddur of the Arizal. There's no actual Siddur of the Arizal. There are several Siddurim of the Arizal with teachings from the Arizal. There's no one official Siddur of the Arizal. There's a Nusach, which we call Nusach Arizal. Even there, every single Siddur that's called Nusach Sfard is really the Arizal's Nusach, just a different version. What we call the Nusach of the Arizal is what the Alter Rebbe put together as the Arizal's Nusach. There are various different versions of it. And then as far as Sfarim called the Siddur of the Arizal with commentaries or statements of the Arizal's customs, there are several. One of them is called Machberes HaKodesh. And in there it says the following words, Matzasi Kasav Kol HaShomer Pesach Karoi. I found written, anyone who keeps Pesach properly, B'chol Inyanoi, in all of its details, hu toyeles lenefesh l'chol hashana, is a great benefit to the soul for the entire year. Okay, that wording was a bit different. It says someone who keeps Pesach appropriately in all its details, it's a benefit for their soul for the entire year. Okay, that's a toned down version of what the Ber Heitev wrote. It's the promise to never sin. This is that it's a help, it's a benefit for their soul for the entire year. But the Ber Heitev says that Kosov, that Arizal writes, but without a source, we don't have the source of the Arizal writing that. We have one of the Svarim which is known as the Sedur Arizal, which has similar wording, that anyone who keeps Pesach appropriately, in all its details, it's a great help to the soul for the entire year. Third paragraph. It seems that this, from the Machberes HaKodesh, is the source of what says in Mishnah Chasidim, which often draws things from the Machberes HaKodesh. Mishnah Chasidim is a later sefer of the Talmidim of the Arizal, where it says in Mishnah Chasidim, "V'hashomer Pesach mechometz kilchasei." Somebody who keeps Pesach guards themselves from chometz on Pesach kilchasei, as is appropriate according to halacha. V'yachmir boi b'chol hachumros shemachmirim hamachmirim, and is strict in all of the stringencies that the strict people are strict with. Yoel nafshay ma'oid kol hashana, will greatly benefit the soul for the entire year. Okay, so again, the wording's a bit different. Someone who keeps Pesach properly and is strict with all the stringencies of Pesach will greatly help their soul for the entire year. From the specific wording, he says that it will greatly benefit his soul for the entire year. It seems to be he's paraphrasing the words of the Machberes HaKodesh, which is quoting something from the Arizal, teaching from the Arizal, that it is a great benefit from the soul. So, even though the Ber Heitev, who is a very holy source and an authoritative source in halacha, he quotes that somebody who is careful with chometz on Pesach is guaranteed not to sin for the entire year. That's the lashon that's most famous. But in the writings of the Arizal, even those that are quoting more directly from the Arizal, we don't find that expression. We find that someone who keeps all the chumras, or who keeps Pesach properly, it will greatly benefit their soul.
Seems like a watered down version.
Right. Yeah. But that's the earlier version. It seems the Ber Heitev's version is an exaggerated version, is guaranteed not to sin. Yeah. So, look at the fourth paragraph. For this, we'll understand the statement of Reb Pinchas Karitza. Reb Pinchas Karitza was a fascinating character. He was a student and contemporary of the Baal Shem Tov. So, I believe he might have even been older than the Baal Shem Tov. Not sure, but he became a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, but he was a contemporary, and he was almost like an authority of his own. So even though we understand the Rebbeim, the Baal Shem Tov and his students, the Reb Pinchas Karitza was almost parallel in time and had his own sort of thing going, but he became a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. And he's very original and sharp in his words. So there's a sefer called Imre Pinchas, which is a gathering of his teachings, where it says the following: somebody who's careful of even a smidgen of chametz on Pesach, it says in Arizal's writings that it'll benefit him, that he will not sin for the entire year. That's a mixture of the expressions. It'll benefit, it'll help him to not sin the entire year. And the Reb Pinchas Karitza was upset at the Ber Heitev, who quoted it that you're guaranteed not to sin. The Reb Pinchas Karitza was not happy with this quote. How can a person be guaranteed not to sin? In the Ksavim, in the writings of the students of the Arizal, quoting the Arizal, it doesn't say that you're promised guaranteed not to sin. It says that it'll help you, it'll greatly benefit you. You'll be supported You'll be strengthened. You'll be encouraged not to sin. It doesn't say you're guaranteed not to sin. So the Imra Pinchas or Pinchas Karitza says, how can a person be guaranteed not to sin? Why not? Why can't you be guaranteed not to sin? What's his objection? You have free choice. Surely a person has free choice. So can you say that because you kept one mitzvah, you're definitely not going to sin in some other isur? How can you say such a guarantee? So I mean, we couldn't be makpid, we can't be angry at the Berhetiv, but Pinchas Karitza, he was makpid, he was upset at the Berhetiv for writing muftach, that you're guaranteed not to sin because you're careful with chametz. Particularly because it's not what it says. It says in the writings that you'll have a great benefit. You'll be strengthened to not sin, but there's no guarantees. That's what Pinchas Karitza. It also seems this is implied by the Panim Yafis. This is Reb Pinchas the Balafla. He was a Talmud of the Magid, who says the following: It says about Pesach, you should keep this statute in its time, miyamim yamima, every year, from year to year. Miyamim yamima means every year. Ramaz Bezeh Masha Amra Rizal says Reb Pinchas Balafla, the Panim Yafis, that this is hinting at what the Arizal said. That somebody who's careful about chametz on Pesach will be helped in their soul for the entire year to be guarded from sin. Meaning, this mitzvah of Pesach is so great. Shari Amr Chazal, that our sages said in the Gemara Soita, mitzvah beidna da'asik ba matzlil minachet. The Gemara says that when you're in the midst of doing a mitzvah, it guards you from sinning. When you're doing a mitzvah, your Yetzer Hara is weakened. You can't be convinced to do a sin in the midst of a mitzvah. But that's only when you're doing the mitzvah. Once you've finished the mitzvah, on the other hand, the Yetzer Hara comes back at full strength, sometimes even more after you've done a mitzvah, and can drag you down. That's generally speaking with mitzvahs. But this mitzvah, the mitzvah of chametz on Pesach, of keeping Pesach properly, has the power not just while you're doing the mitzvah, but for the entire year. It weakens the Yetzer Hara. It creates a barrier around you that the Yetzer Hara cannot get you, not just when you're doing it, but even for the entire year afterwards. And that's what it says in the pasuk, that you should guard, which is an ongoing thing. That this mitzvah, for you should keep it. You should maintain the mitzvah. You should be kept in a state of protection from the Yetzer Hara miyamim yamima, for an entire year. From year to year, from one Pesach to the next Pesach, you're guarded from the Yetzer Hara. So this, the Reb Pinchas Balafla finds a hint at in the pasuk itself. You should keep, meaning you should keep the energy, the protection of this mitzvah from year to year. It keeps you, it holds you, it protects you from the Yetzer Hara. But when he quotes this teaching of the Arizal, he quotes it also as yoyo, that it helps, it assists you, it guards you. It doesn't guarantee. There's no promise that you're not going to sin. It just helps. Okay. Second column. Ulam. Matzino bekamas farma kadoshim hamavim is divrei but the Arizal kamosha hevar heitav. And now, but we do find many svarim who bring this statement of the Arizal with the same wording as the Bar Heitev, that it's a promise. That you're promised, you're guaranteed not to sin all year if you keep Pesach properly. The first one we'll quote is from the Yesod V'Shorish Avoda, one of the great Mukubalim from Germany. He says, Beloshin Kocha, he writes, Arizal Mazir Ma'oid Al Zihirus Mashu Chametz b'Pesach. The Arizal greatly warns about being careful of even a smidgen of chametz on Pesach. The kosav sheyachmer ha'adam b'chol chumras shel kol poskim. And Arizal writes that you should be strict with all the stringencies of all the poskim. So this one's strict with that one, that one's strict with that.
That one, the Chabad
Well, basically. V'hazor mimashu chametz b'Pesach muftach lo shel yechter kol hashana. and somebody who's careful with even a smidgen of Pesach, of chametz on Pesach, muftach, is guaranteed to not sin for the entire year. Ad kan l'shena. That's the quote of the Yisod B'Shorsh Avodah from the Arizal. So he says the muftach way. You're promised. You're guaranteed.
So we're not doing it now.
I don't know.
We just don't eat.
You can't really keep all the chumras because some people have a chumrah not to eat potatoes.
Some people have a chumrah to
Some people don't eat fish, and some people don't eat chicken, and some people don't like.
Yeah, there's something to. Yeah. But if you're consistent.
In Chabad, they didn't eat cucumbers because of the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the seeds. Because in Russia there was no
Yeah,
such
yeah.
thing as cucumber.
There are also people who are strict that they don't eat matzah.
Yeah.
What?
There's some people who have a chumrah not to eat matzah.
What happens at the Seder?
Just then, they eat the minimal kazayis, what they have to, and that's it.
And so what do they do like for Shabbos to...
Why?
Because what could become chametz more than matzah?
Exactly.
Anyway, so
Someone, I remember if I was saying someone's like, I can't remember which class, they would eat only like the brente matzahs, like, that you know for sure it
Yeah.
wasn't.
So look, for our purpose, what this means is if you keep our chumras, but you keep them all the way, so then this is what seems to be the promise. So that's from the Yisod B'Shorsh Avodah. V'chein kosav b'nei Yisachar. The b'nei Yisachar, the great Chassidish Sefer says, Davar gadol dibra lana mar Arizal. A great thing was taught to us by our master, the Arizal. Hanizir mimashu chametz b'Pesach. Somebody who's careful with even a smidgen of chametz on Pesach, muftach lo shelo yachtu kol hashana, is guaranteed to not sin all of the year. V'chein kosav derech b'kodecha. And he also quotes this in his other sefer called Derech B'Kodecha, another sefer that goes through the mitzvahs. V'davar gadol v'dibra bar Arizal kol hanizir mishamesh b'chametz b'Pesach nishmar b'chet kol yom hashana, the same thing. V'chein hevi be'er l'shamayim. Another Chassidish sefer er l'shamayim says muva b'shem Arizal hanizir mimashu chametz b'nuftach lo shelo yechtu kol shana. The exact same lashon. So we find that there are many great authorities, certainly in the Chassidish world, and even outside of it, there is Yisod B'Shorsh Avodah who quote this in the same lashon as the Ber Heitev, muftach lo, you're guaranteed to not sin, and they seem not to have the issue that the Panim Yafas had, that Rabbi Pinchas or Pinchas Karitza had, and that is that what about free choice? You don't have bechira, you don't have free choice. If you keep one mitzvah, you suddenly have no bechira. You can't sin. It's not possible. How does that happen? They don't seem to have a problem. Also in the Sephardi world, the Chida, one of the great Mekubalim and writers from the Sephardi world, in his sefer called Dvash Lafi, maybe Davar B'Shem Gurei Harizal, he brings it in the name of the Gurei Harizal. The Gurei Harizal means the cubs, literally, the lion cubs of the Harizal. They're the students of the Harizal. Somebody who's careful on Pesach about chametz, even a smidgen of it, muftach lo shelo yechtu kol hashana, kein kosvu gurei harizal. He says the name of the students of the Rizal. V'nira pashat shekavanos gam kein ledivrei machaberes hakodesh anal, heivin ki ma'achash hamasada es kisvei Rizal sham heivi inyan ze b'shem mitzasi kasuv, ein ze medivrei Rizal atzmoi ki medivrei tamido v'mechonim gurei Rizal. So it seems that what the Chida understood is because in the Machaberes HaKodesh we quoted earlier, he says matzasi kasuv, I found written that somebody who's careful, etc., because it doesn't say I found it written by the Rizal. It says I found it written. Is mashma that he found it written by the students of the Rizal, not the Rizal himself. Otherwise, he would have said the Rizal. The Chida then adds that this actually can explain a pasuk that says, "Ushmartem es hamatzos." You should guard the matzos, which shmura. This is the pasuk that says you have to guard. You have to be careful of the matzos, that they don't become chametz. Or Pirush Rashi b'shem Mechilta. Rashi brings in the name of the Mechilta, Al tikara es hamatzos ela es mitzvos. Don't read it matzos but mitzvos. Ushmartem es mitzvos. You should guard the mitzvos. Sorry, what did you just do? The pasuk says Ushmartem es matzos. You should guard the matzos. Make sure the matzos don't become chametz. So the Mechilta came and says, don't read matzos but mitzvos. You should guard the mitzvos. Well, what do you mean? So the Mechilta says that just like matzah shouldn't become chametz, so to a mitzvah, don't let it become chametz. Don't delay a mitzvah. Don't push off a mitzvah to later, but do it immediately. Just like matzah has to be done with chipazon, with alacrity, quickness, speed, so to a mitzvah you should do straight away. But the Chidah takes it a different direction. He says, according to what the Arizal taught us, you can explain what do Chazal mean, ushmartem es hamatzos, ushmartem es hamitzvos. In the merit of guarding the matzahs, making sure that not even a smidgen of chametz comes into it, you'll merit to keep the mitzvahs that the Yetzer Hara shouldn't be able to get you. You will have no Yetzer Hara, you won't sin. So ushmartem es hamatzos, ushmartem es hamitzvos. Keep away from chametz and you'll be able to keep the mitzvahs. That's the Chidah. So fascinating. Look at the next section at the bottom. Have a look at this interesting thing that's written in Mikdash Melech. Mikdash Melech is a commentary on the Zohar, written by Rabbi Shalom Buz Galom. Mikdash Melech is quoted quite a bit in Chassidus as well. Ki makar divrei Arizal hu medivrei HaZohar HaKadosh b'Rai Mehemna. He writes that the source of this statement of the Arizal is actually in the Zohar itself. Says the following: Marad de Pischa, bezimna de shalit alay ulel shemurim. So those who have Pesach, at the time when the night of guarding comes to them, kulut tzrichim lamahavish shmurim unaturim mechametz usar b'chol shehu. All have to be completely guarded and careful of any chametz or any yeast. All your food and drink have to be guarded. And somebody who's careful from any chametz and any leaven, then his body will be guarded from the Yetzer Hara down here, and his neshama above will be guarded from the Yetzer Hara from evil. It says in the Tehillim, that evil will not surround you. Because he's made his body holy and his soul holy of holies. And it says about the Yetzer Hara, that a stranger cannot eat from the holy food, and a stranger who approaches shall die. So the Zohar says what? That on the night of Pesach, when Pesach comes, we have to be careful of chametz, that all of our food should not have any chametz. And somebody who guards their food on Pesach from chametz, they will be guarded from the Yetzer Hara. Why? Because their body becomes holy. By eating this food, you become holy. And when you become holy kodesh, it says v'chol zar lo yechol kodesh, that a stranger cannot eat from kodesh. This is talking about karbanos, that somebody who is in a state of impurity or somebody who's not allowed to be eating that sacrifice cannot approach the sacrifice. And so you've become kodesh, your body has become kodesh, holy, and so therefore it cannot be approached by the zar, by the stranger, the outsider, which is the Yetzer Hara. So, fascinatingly, we find straight out in the Zohar this idea that the Rizal taught, that somebody who's careful about Chametz and Pesach, the Yetzer Hara is banished from you, cannot come close to you because you become holy through the eating of matzah and avoidance of Chametz. And so therefore, the Yetzer Hara has no jurisdiction over you, cannot come near you.
You kind of feel different on Pesach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you're like, there is something like...
You're lifted to a higher place, definitely. Every eating is mitzvah, is like there's a kedusha to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not just
no
eating,
question.
Everything. Because you're using different, everything's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just,
Yeah.
You have to think twice before you put something in your mouth, or feel something, or like it's just like this consciousness.
It's like when you go
Like
out and
it
you
is-
see everyone else is not,
Yeah.
like, and you are different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in your face, like you.
Yeah.
It changes like your consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The house also feels like
Yeah.
elevated, higher. Yeah. So he then translates that Zohar. So skip to the third paragraph and the second from the left. The Kosav al Zeh Mikdash Melech Sham. So the Mikdash Melech writes on the Zohar. Misham be'era kasher kibalnu mipi gvurus hamufla harizala. This is the source, this is the wellspring from which we've received from the wondrous Arizal. That anyone who keeps Pesach properly, the Yetzer Hara does not have any power over. Again, the wording is different there. That anyone who keeps Pesach properly, in Sholet by Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer Hara doesn't have control over you, doesn't have rulership over you. And so the Mikdash Melech says the source of the Arizal source is from the Zohar. He's actually quoting a Zohar. So too, the Bnei Yissaschar writes in Hagaz Martzah, his commentary on the Zohar. This is the source of where it says that you will not sin all year from this. So those who say that you're protected from the Yetzer Hara, it's from this Zohar. This is the source of it. This is where the Arizal got the idea from originally.
What about from like the Torah? Is there like one?
Well, the Chidah and the Panim Yafis show the pasuk of Shemartes. Yeah.
And Arizal, he just said it like.
Well, we haven't found it in the writings of the Arizal. We've found it in his students' writing, quoted in his name, and it's in the Zohar. So it could be he taught it. It's something he taught, which he got from the Zohar, and his students quoted it in his name. I mean, the Arizal didn't write anything. All of his writings are from his students, but
Was it based on the pasuk or?
not the Arizal's thing was never based on a pasuk, but the Chidah found it in Ushmartem Esamatzos. And the Panim Yafis in V'shamartes Zechukah Zois L'mayada Mayomim Amima. Okay. The next section there, second from the left. Omnam Kvar Toma Mefarshim Al Divrei Arizal. But the Mefarshim have asked on the words of the Arizal. Shari Anu Roim Harbe Bnei Adam and Izhar Mechal Koicha Mimashu Chametz Pesach. We have many people that we know, maybe even ourselves included, who try very hard and work very hard with all of our powers to be careful from even any speck of chametz on Pesach. But nevertheless, during the course of the year, the Yetzer Hara seems to have some footing and some power over us that we do fall. And God forbid, but it happens, Hashem should protect us. We sin during the year. Does that mean we weren't careful on Pesach? We were. Maybe we weren't, but we know people who were. There are people who really, really were careful, and yet the Yetzer Hara seems to still have some type of footing. So, does it work or does it not work? Is this a promise or not a promise? So it seems that we could settle this issue clearly and in a way that is satisfying. Al pi ma shehevi apardes Yosef parshas boy davar nifla b'shem hagon agadol ba'al avnei nezaziyah. Based on something that the Pardes Yosef, a wondrous collection of different commentaries on the Torah, he writes in the name of the Avnei Nezer, the Sachatshava Rebbe, Lavar Divrei Arizal, to explain the words of the Rizal, Ki nizeh b'mashu chametz nitzil mi Yetzer Hara kol hashana. What does it mean when the Rizal says, based on the Zohar, that if you're careful of a mashu chametz, of even a bit of chametz on Pesach, then you're guarded from the Yetzer Hara of the whole year? Obir al pi mashu pasuk Rambam. He explained this based on the psak of the Rambam. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Shavuos, the laws of making oaths. Nishba al davar she'ein koyach b'lasos. If somebody makes an oath to do something that he cannot do, that's not possible. Ketzad, what does that mean? Somebody who makes an oath, I'm not going to sleep for 3 straight days. Night or day, I'm not going to sleep for 3 days. He made an oath to do that. Or he says, I'm not going to eat anything for 7 days straight. Both of those things are not possible. Even though sometimes it feels like we haven't slept for 3 nights, but it actually is not physically possible. You would collapse. If you missed 2 nights of sleep, by the 3rd night, you would actually collapse. You would not be able to stay awake for 3 24-hour periods. So it's physically impossible. Your body will shut down and you will forcibly fall asleep. So too, not eating for 7 days it's not possible. You can't survive not eating for 7 days. You can get close to it without food. Water, much less. But food you could go without for close to. But you cannot last 7 days without eating. So someone who made an oath, a shavua, that they're going to do these things. Now, a shavua is binding. When you make an oath to do something, it's binding on you like a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah to keep a shavua, so therefore you have an obligation to keep it. What if you make an oath of something that's impossible to keep? So says the Rambam, "Over b'lo yisasa shenemar," you have transgressed the lo yisasa, a negative command. Shenemar, lo yisasa Shem Hashem al kechel hashav. Do not take Hashem's name in vain, make an oath in vain. And if you did it intentionally, so then you get lashings. If it was by accident, you didn't mean to say it, or you didn't realize what you're saying, so then you're exempt, but it's over b'lav. And by the way, you can go straight to sleep. You don't have to wait until you're exhausted. You don't have to even try to keep it. Or the 7-day thing, you can eat straight away. You don't even have to try to fast for 7 days. The oath is Shavuos Shav in the beginning, and you're going to break it, but you've transgressed. So, because it's not possible to survive and not eat for 7 days. So says the Rambam. So the Avnei Nezer quotes this. What's this to do with our Arizal? And Pesach and Chametz, top of the next column. What we learn from this, you cannot live 7 days without food. What is the food of the Yetzer Hara, of the Sitra Achra, the power of evil? What does it survive on? Chametz. Because Chametz represents and hints at the Yetzer Hara. So therefore, if you avoid any speck of chametz for the 7 days of Pesach, the 7 days of Doraisa, and then there's the 8th day for us. But if you keep the 7 days of Pesach without any chametz, then this Yetzer Hara, the Sitra Achra, has no food, is being starved for 7 days. They're dead. The Yetzer Hara dies for the entire year. That year's Yetzer Hara is gone, because a week without chametz is a week without food of the Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara has died. You can't live for a week without food. That's it for the Yetzer Hara. He's died for a year. Next year you'll come back and you'll do it again.
But he can't come back because the next year also doing.
So as long as you keep, as long as you keep it every year, so then the Yetzer Hara is done with. Okay. So that's a nice angle that Avnei Nezer has given, like an explanation. How does the avoidance of Chametz and Pesach get rid of the Yetzer Hara for an entire year? What's the function? How does it actually work? So he says, because you're starving the Yetzer Hara, because the Yetzer Hara feeds on Chametz. Okay, but that still doesn't answer why it doesn't seem to work. So what comes out? The reason why somebody's careful from eating chametz is guaranteed not to sin. The idea that the Yetzer Hara is represented by chametz is found in the Zohar. It says that the secret that I've taught you of the difference between chametz and matzah, in many places I've said it, do Yetzer Hara and do Yetzer Tov. That this is the Yetzer Hara, this is Yetzer Tov. That chametz is the Yetzer Hara, matzah is the Yetzer Tov. So eating matzah is strengthening the Yetzer Tov, and chametz, avoiding it, is killing off the Yetzer Hara. So it says in the Zohar. So therefore it says in the responsa of the Radvaz, Levara Tamshech Mira Torah al Isur Chametz Levara L'Sarfai. Why is it that the Isur of Chametz in Torah is so strict you have to get rid of it? You don't find any other Isur that not only you can't have it, enjoy it, benefit from it, eat it, you can't even have it, you can't own it, you have to get rid of it completely. In theory, if you had tray for food in your house, you can't eat it, can't cook with it, but to have it in the house is permissible, technically. If you had a guy who's staying in your house, or dog food, or you can have it in your house. You just can't eat it or put it in your kitchen or whatever. But chametz, we have to get rid of completely. Every speck of it, we have to totally eradicate from the house. So the Radvaz, who's a Rishon, he explained, so therefore, I base myself on what our sages say in the Medrash, that chametz on Pesach is a hint at the Yetzer Hara, is the yeast in the dough that makes us puffed up. And so therefore we have to completely rid ourselves of it. And we have to seek it out in all of the crevices and the cracks of our thoughts. And even a tiny bit of it is not nullified. It can't be overlooked. It can't be it doesn't disappear on its own. We have to get rid of it. Every single speck. And this is true and correct. So the Ridvaz says that the reason why we have to completely rid ourselves of chametz is because it represents the Yetzer Hara, and getting rid of chametz is a physical act of symbolizing our internal self-introspection to find in any crack and nook and cranny, is there a bit of a Yetzer Hara lurking there, and we have to get rid of it completely. So therefore, somebody who does this properly on Pesach, gets rid of the chametz properly, it's not just getting rid of the physical chametz, but it's also getting rid of the symbolic chametz, which is the Yetzer Hara inside of us. So then you've starved the Yetzer Hara for 7 days, it can't survive for the year. There's no Yetzer Hara for the year. Okay.
You have to get rid of it before Pesach.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So you spend 7 days without it. You still have to. You get rid of it before Pesach. We have to make sure that it doesn't enter in for the entire 7 days. Okay. So now he says Va'ata me'ata niruk baruch Hashem. So now it seems clear as the sun. When the Arizal said that somebody who's careful in even a smidgen of chametz is guaranteed not to sin, is only makes sense if you got rid of the chametz and you don't allow the Yetzer Hara to come into the house either. Because it's a kal v'chomer. If you have to be careful of chametz, even a speck of chametz you have to get rid of, and that's what represents the Yetzer Hara. So of course, how much more you can't let the Yetzer Hara itself into the house, right? The chametz is just representing the Yetzer Hara that you're getting rid of, but the idea is not to get rid of the chametz and let the Yetzer Hara stay. So ironically, if you're getting rid of the chametz, but if that is actually causing you to get angry, that's sort of missed the point. If you're,
It's a bit hard.
if getting rid of the chametz is getting rid of every speck of the Yetzer Hara, then the Yetzer Hara comes to you and makes you angry because the kids bring their bread into the...
More
frustrated, but anger is different. That's Yetzer Hara.
Your frustration. It's from Hashem, right?
No, you have to teach your kids how to keep Pesach. Like it's a part of education. But getting frustrated, angry, uptight, and making a misery out of the whole yontiv, I don't think that's the point. I don't think that was what that's the Yetzer Hara coming in. If all we're doing is keeping a mitzvah, that's what we're doing. So let's keep the mitzvah, and the mitzvah is about getting rid of chametz, which is Yetzer Hara. So let's do that. Okay. Second last paragraph. If a person is not careful to not speak lashon hara and to not do other forbidden things, how can you say that I was careful of even a speck of chametz? Halay hichnis beveisay shir gadol shel chametz. You brought a big piece of chametz into your house. Shu yetzer hara batzma. The yetzer hara itself you let into the house. Now, we're not belittling. Certainly, it was very helpful when you took the chametz out of the house. That weakens the yetzer hara. It helps you. But if you got rid of all the chametz and your house is all pesachdik, but you let in the yetzer hara itself, then you can't say that you got the skula, the blessing that your yetzer hara is not going to get you for the whole year. You cleaned the house, but the yetzer hara you didn't.
Real chametz.
Yeah. We can compare this to what the Ramah writes, B'Shem HaMaril, Al Minhagim B'Rosh Hashanah. It says, we can compare this, what the Ramah writes on Rosh Hashanah, it says, Yesh Medaktim Shaloi Lechel Egoizim. There's a custom to be careful not to eat egoizim, not to eat nuts on Rosh Hashanah. Why? She'egoiz b'gematria chet. Because egoiz has the gematria chet, sin. So that we don't eat nuts on Rosh Hashanah because we don't want to be involved with sin on Rosh Hashanah. Al kach amar Rav HaKadosh Mikotzke. So the great Kotzker Rebbe said about this, shetzarich lizar gam ken mechet atzmai, that you should also be careful of sin on Rosh Hashanah. Ki chet gam ken gematria chet, because chet also has the same gematria as chet. That sinning also has the same gematria. So if you're careful of not eating nuts on Rosh Hashanah, and then, and you see one of the kids wants a nut, and you scream at them. Hang on a minute. Why are we not eating nuts? Because we're not supposed to sin. And now I'm screaming at the kids about eating nuts. Because the gematria of nut is sin. The gematria of sin is also sin. So says the Kotzker. So if bin yonenu tzarich le'amnam lehizar b'mshat b'chametz shul remez le'yetzer hara, aval kol sheken shel tzarich lehizar me'yetzer hara shelo yachis b'vatei lebeinu. So too here. We have to be careful of every speck of chametz that not allowed into our house, but we have to be careful of the yetzer hara that the chametz represents much more. And if we do that, so then we're guaranteed.
Who said this?
This he's saying it himself. There's Pinchas Friedman. Okay, let's look at what the Rebbe says on this topic. A very fascinating idea.
You see that video of the Rebbe with the gematria of Yayin and Lekach?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see.
Yayin is the gematria of Lekach, but it's not. It's like one's 38, one's 40. It's like in the early years. So the Rebbe says that's what it's a minute to say a Purim Taida, and this is what he heard from his teacher. That was like this gematria, and then he says, so what's so okay, and then this lekach, you'll have like but then it's still the so then you'll have a bit more lekach, and then you'll be so shikker that you won't know the difference between
Okay, so the Rebbe here in a very fascinating sikha. This is Parshas Vayikra in Chelik Gimel of Likutei Sichos. The Rebbe talks about karbanos and how the karbanos are brought primarily for shogeg, for unintentional sins. For an intentional sin, you don't necessarily bring a carbon, but for unintentional sin, you bring a carbon. And the question is why? Why should you have to bring a carbon for something you did unintentionally? You didn't even mean to do it. So why do you need such a kapara for such a thing? So the Rebbe has an interesting psychological insight into this. Just the top of the page there, the second paragraph. Things that a person does automatically, not with intention, not meaning to, you just accidentally did it. What they show is what you really are. In was liegt und in was is ein Geschmack. What are you really into? What do you really enjoy? That's what you do accidentally. Like without controlling yourself, without trying, that's what you're attracted to. Die Asiyus von der Tzaddik, was sein Geschmack ist in Gettlichkeit, sind Peulos von Teuv und Kedusha. So the actions of a tzaddik, whose whole world, his Geschmack, his pleasure is in godliness and good, are just good and holy acts, even without meaning it. Whatever he does, whatever he says, is good because that's where he is, that's where his Geschmack is, that's where his Tainug is. Und der, was hat gekannt durchfallen in Avera, is a Raya, sein Geschmack findet sich in den Yonim von Leutov. The fact that somebody could accidentally, without trying, do a sin, it means that that's where they really are. It's a bit like a Freudian slip. You know, when you say something that you didn't mean to say, that's what you really meant. That's what you're really thinking sometimes. Without trying, this is what you said. So if without trying you do the wrong thing, that's because that's where your Geschmack is, that's where you really want to be. It shows something in the subconscious. Und das, was die meiste Avera ist geworden nur bescheuigig, ist aber in einer gewissen Prat der Pagam von der Scheuigig noch größer wie durch eine meiste bemeiset. So therefore, the fact that an action, a sin, was done bescheuigig, unintentionally, is, from a certain perspective, the blemish of an unintentional sin is even bigger than an intentional sin. Weil wenn ein Mensch tut a Pa'ula b'chavona, when you do something intentionally, this is what I want to do, and you go out and do it, weisen sie nicht auf ein Seufel auf dem tiefen Verbund von dem Menschen mit der Sache, was hat getan. This does not necessarily reflect a deep connection between you and what you're doing. Es kann sein, dass die ganze Scheiche seine nicht mit der Pula kommt nach B'Shas Asiya und es nur mit sein Koch Asiya und der Darges HaKavona v'das bei welcher halt sich halt an. It could be that when you do something intentionally, your connection to that act is only a conscious, circumstantial, immediate connection. This is what you're doing at this time. It came up, it happened, this is what you did. It's connected to your awareness and your decision at that moment. Aber a Pa'ula was tut sich bei von sich allein. But something that just happens by accident, automatically, didn't try, is die Sache, is die doch a Beweis of sein Mohus. That indicates your real self. This is who you are, without any control. As damit ist verbunden sein Ich, was ist tiefer von Kavana v'das. This is your real me, is connected to this action, which is deeper than your intention, deeper than your conscious mind. Und der Rebbe sieht es instinctive, that you're drawn to it instinctively. So you do it without trying. So turn out die Paulus von einer sehr stark bis als es ist herabgekommen meisen Pearl. It's such a strong attraction that you have to it that it actually translated into doing this deed without even trying. So that's why a shoygig is in some ways worse than amazing. What we do intentionally, that was what we did at that moment. But what we do unintentionally is reflecting on who we are. A very fascinating insight. So with this, listen to this. Damit, ches at the bottom. Damit wird man euch verstehen, was es steht in Kisva Arizal. We'll understand what it says in the writings of the Arizal, which the Rebbe brings as the source. Huvaber, it's quoted in Ber Heitev, and Re'ei Zoyar, and look at the Zoyar. So the Rebbe in the sources brings, it's quoted in the Ber Heitev, and if you look in the Zoyar, it's actually in the Zoyar, which is what we saw. As der was is nizer von a Mashu Chometz be Pesach, is versichert, as wird nicht sündigen den ganzen Jahr. Somebody who is careful with even a smidgen of Chometz on Pesach is guaranteed that he will not sin for the entire year. Is nicht verstandig. This makes no sense. A Mensch ist doch abal bechir. A person has free choice. Kann allemal auskleiden zu gehen in welcher Weg will. A person can always choose which path to go. Is wie kann man sagen, als durch dem, was wird sich aushitten von der Mashu Chametz 8 Tage, wird bei ihm zugenommen während der Bechir. How can we say that because a person avoided Chametz for 8 days, they lose their free choice and they can't sin, they're guaranteed not to sin? Where's the Bechira? So listen to the Rebbe's explanation. Now the Pirush is the explanation is, as der Arizal retta wegen Chatoim b'shoigig. The Arizal here is talking about unintentional sins. It's very possible that a person can intentionally sin, even if you are careful with chametz. Weil is allemal about bechira, und is allemal frei zu tun laut sein Willen. A person has free choice, and you can always do what you want to do. Hashem will never take that away from you. Aber in a chet b'shoigig was wird getan shalem edaita, but in an unintentional sin that just happens without your kavana, without your intention, wird nicht durchfallen auf so viel. That you won't fall into. Weil durch dem, was ist gewesen ein Nizer von der Mashu Chametz, because through the fact that you're careful with even a speck of Chametz, is ein Mahus geworden in a gewisse Maß ein Mahus von Kedusha. What happened to you is your essence became to a certain extent an essence of holiness. By being careful from even a speck of Chametz, just for the duration of Pesach, you have become essentially holy. You've imbibed and ingrained in yourself a holiness. You've become a piece of holiness. Was durch dem wird im Bemele nicht ziehen zu Averis. And so therefore, automatically, you will not be attracted to doing Averis. Your instincts will not make you do a sin accidentally. You may still do an intentional sin. You still got a Yetzer Hara, you still got free choice. You could go against your inner truth and do a sin. But when you're not trying, you're not going to sin. Because your mohus has become holy. There's that kedusha that we're speaking about before, that Pesach brings in. When you're careful from a mashur chametz, there's an essence that becomes holiness, of holiness within you.
So this doesn't have anything to do with our Yetzer Hara. This is mamish the chametz.
Well, it's talking about the physical chametz, but also, I mean, the avoda of getting rid of chametz, which is the avoda of getting rid of the Yetzer Hara, it's the same idea. But it's saying by being careful with this mitzvah, physically you become a shtik kedusha. And the Rebbe look in the Ha'aras 27, where it says that you become a mahus from kedusha, you become an essence of holiness, a being of holiness. This is even referring to a beinini, about whom it says in Tanya that your nefesh achiyunis, your animal soul, is the you. Your divine soul is like an addition, but your essence, it says in Tanya, a beinini, the me is my animal soul. But we're talking about a nefesh hamas shabi Yisrael. Mitzad atzma kashloi harido ayidei tavis heter begin because of the meyes he bechinas klipas noiga. And on its own, the nefesh hamas of a Jew, until we drag it down by doing forbidden things into gimel klipas of Tameis, even through tavis heter, even through permissible but tavis, through tavis we drag down our animal soul. But on its own, it's klipas noiga. The nefesh habahamis of a Jew is klipas noiga, which is not evil. Klipas noiga is not evil. And the natural tendency of the nefesh habahamis is to only want permissible things, not to want evil things, not to want bad things. We, through feeding our taivas, develop a taste for sin. But the nefesh habahamis itself, our nefesh habahamis, does not want to sin. It has taivas, physical taivas, but not forbidden taivas. That's what it says in Tanya. So therefore, even a beinani who's doing the right thing, and certainly on Pesach, when we're careful with the mashur chametz, so then our nefesh habahamis, which is me, but our nefesh habahamis becomes kedusha. Becomes elevated to kedusha. So look in 28. So now we'll understand what's the connection between a promise that you will not sin, even the meaning a shogeg, you won't sin b'shogeg. How's that connected to isur chametz dafka? Why does it say about this? Why doesn't it say that somebody who sits in the sukkah for the festival of Sukkot will not sin all year? Why chametz particularly? Because matzah is bittul, emunah. That acceptance of Hashem, that Hashem is the true essence and true everything. Matzah, I'm just a receptacle. I'm flat and bottled to Hashem. And emunah brings automatically to keeping all the mitzvahs. When you have emunah, as it says in Tanya, then all the mitzvahs come. But chametz, hepech matzah, yeshus v'gaiva. Chametz, which is the opposite of matzah, is yeshus, ego, and gaiva, arrogance. Which is the source of all evil. All sin, all Yetzer Hara is gaiva. It starts with yeshus. If I'm completely bottled, so then there's nothing else but Hashem, so then of course there's only mitzvahs. So when you're completely absorbed in the matzah reality and completely separated from chametz, even just for those 7-8 days, so then you've taken in this mahus of kedusha, of bittul, of emunah, which leads to all the mitzvahs. You've avoided gaiva and yeshus, which is certainly, it is a humbling festival, Pesach. It is a humbling thing to work hard and to make it right. So by experiencing that level of bittul and emunah, that leads to all the mitzvahs, and the avoidance of chametz takes us away from all the averos. But specifically, the Rebbe says it's talking about b'shogeg. You still have free choice after that, but you're not going to naturally tend towards evil after Pesach. it's not your essence anymore. You're above it and beyond it. So we should be successful.
What about lots of things also for the